Hello and welcome back to another Walk in Obedience Bible study. I am Fuzzy Spartan on location at my house because I'm stuck in my driveway. And we are here with Dave, as we always are.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Everybody on Podbean. We are also live streaming this over to Twitch. Well, everyone on Podbean and YouTube. We're live streaming this over on twitch.tv/Fuzzy Spartan, where you can talk to us live in the chat room and we can answer your burning questions that you have, and you can yell at us through text about how we're wrong. And we can have a good time just having good discussions. So, I think that we can start again in Genesis 21, verse 22. So if you have your Bibles, please get them out and read along with us if you can. If you don't and you're on YouTube, you'll see little verses pop up. Also, if you're on Twitch, you'll see the verses pop up on the screen in front of you. Verse 22 says, "At the time, Abimelech," and how do you say his name?
Picole is how I've heard it before.
Okay, that's
Because
better than what I was.
usually in the translated words from Hebrew that have the ch is more of a k sound. Yeah, Picole.
I was gonna call him Fecal, so I like your name better.
Yes, yeah. Let's do a Picole.
Fecal, the commander of his forces, said to Abimelech, "God is with you in everything you do." That's pretty much straightforward.
There we go.
Don't call him Fecal. His name's Fecal.
And I don't know if it much matters, right?
Verse 23 says, "Now swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me or my children or my descendants. Show to me and the country where you now reside as a foreigner the same kindness I have shown to you."
Well, all right. And so it seems that Abraham and Sarah are still kind of in the same region that they were in. Really, what, a chapter or two ago, chapter 20, when they're in this area of Gerar, right? And and now Abimelech wants a treaty, I suppose, with Abraham, to just keep everything, I guess I'll put it, on the up and up. So they're going to have this treaty, an oath that they're going to witness between, really, swear to me by God, right? That, we are going to be kind to each other in this land. We're not going to steal from each other's land, and just live people at peace.
And I also think Abimelech has two reasons to make a treaty with Abraham. One, Abraham does not have a small group of people following him.
No.
And two, Abimelech has seen what God can do.
Oh, absolutely.
And he doesn't want that on him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Abraham's got a huge army, right?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But not only that, he's got God on his side, where, you just saw the way he just utterly wiped out an entire two cities with, a stroke of a word, that he was going to destroy their cities, and he rained fire and brimstone down upon them.
And to finish out this slide quickly, Abraham said, "I swear it."
Yep. All right, let's do it. Let's make this treaty and be kind to one another. All right, I'm going to advance.
Moving on to 25. Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized.
All right. And we don't really have this event recorded, right? other than Abraham's complaint about it. The whole idea is let's get together, let's deal kindly with each other. And Abraham says, "Hey, look, you had some of your folks come and take this well from us, a well that he had dug, and it's not yours to take." And of course, we learn here shortly that Abimelech says, "I didn't know anything about what was going on."
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? And somehow I don't think Abimelech's lying. I don't think he's just saying these things just to get himself out of trouble. But, we're talking about not your backyard.
Yeah.
Large areas of land is this idea of what we're talking about. And so there could be things going on that the servants are doing that he just doesn't know that they're doing.
So verse 26, but Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I heard about it only today. So I'm wondering if this isn't the first time Abraham brought this up to him. Or no?
It doesn't seem like he's...
Never mind. Strike what I just said.
I think you got that verse wrapped around in your head backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like he's not heard this at all. If word had come to him by some of his servants, tell him, hey, John and Billy, look what they did, and that was Abraham's, and we don't think that's right. We won't let you know about it. But nobody said anything, and he hadn't gotten word about it yet. So this is the first time he's hearing about it, and so he's going to do. He's not a Jew, Abimelech, but he definitely seems, as we've seen him in the past, a God-fearing individual.
Yeah.
And he does right towards Abraham and to do right in God's sight.
And I'm also wondering why Abimelech's comment, if Abraham was coming to him as if Abraham had the idea of Abimelech has to know they did this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, this is the king. Isn't the king supposed to know everything that goes on? You would think he would.
He's a terrible king.
But not all information is always given out.
Verse 27, so Abraham brought sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a treaty.
All right. Now this is interesting to me. Because who was the one at fault? It was
Abimelech.
Yeah, Abimelech and his servants.
And Fecal.
And Fecal. And who is the one who is bringing an offering here?
Abraham.
Yeah. And I find that just so very interesting because it almost seems like to me, the whole idea of a peace offering, when we get into the Mosaic law is, you've done something unintentional and you want to make things right. You have this idea of a peace offering to make peace with your neighbor, to make peace with God, and you offer this gift in sort of an apologetic way. And that's what I see here, but Abraham is the one who's bringing the gift to Abimelech, and it was Abimelech's error, his servant's error, that seized this land. But Abraham's doing this, and I think just a way of showing good faith that, hey, look, our relationship is okay, right?
Yeah.
This is mine. Your servants took it, but I'm going to be the bigger guy, and even in some sort of way pay for that well that's mine, that we dug with our own hands. But just know, this is mine, and let's be cool about it.
And so in verse 28, Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs from the flock in verse 29, and Abimelech asked Abraham, "What is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs you have set apart by themselves?" And yes, I have no idea how to say the word EWE.
Yeah. I think it's ooh, but I'm not sure
Close
if I'm
enough.
right. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and I believe that means young, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've always heard.
Yes. Young lambs. And so he gave them.
So Abimelech's asking why the 7 lambs.
Mm-hmm. And in the next verse,
In
he
verse
tells us.
30, he replied, "Accept these 7 lambs from my hand as a witness that I dug this well."
Mm-hmm. And so again, he's paying for something that's already his, but almost in that way of, hey, just let it be known, all right, that this is ours, um, and that we're going to deal right with each other. And
And you
sometimes,
all need to back off.
well, I think through this we see in a very important lesson, you know, that Abraham was the one that was gypped. He was the one that was shortchanged.
Yeah,
But sometimes, we don't need to let our pride get to us in order to make peace with somebody else. You know, Abraham could have went in there with his great forces. Hey, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of, well, he is Abraham, the God that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah is on my side. And look, dude, this is my property. This is my well. I dug it by hand. Step off. You know.
yeah,
But instead, he becomes that bigger guy, and he says, "Look, let's just do this. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to get pride in the way, and just to make a proper, peaceful relationship." And that's hard for us to do sometimes, to put our pride aside.
I
And
think that's hard for us to do all the time.
yeah, it is, because anytime um, we feel stepped on, we want to retaliate. And of
Yeah.
course, Scripture reminds us that vengeance, retaliation, is for God, not for us. Even though that's what
So
we desire so much.
moving on to verse 31. So that place was
31.
called Beersheba because the 2 men swore an oath there.
Beersheba. All right. And we see this becomes a very important place throughout the Old Testament. Uh, Beersheba is one of those places that have always come up, and it is um, we talk about the wilderness, right? And you and I have had that
Yes.
conversation before, and it's a dry desert area. If you do I don't know, geographical, you talk about Bible lands and you do a study on Bible lands, and so a well would have been something that was tremendously important, especially for Abraham, who has all of these animals to take care of, all these people to take care of. And so it's an important place for Jews' history because of Abraham, and it becomes very significant throughout the entirety of the Bible.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you need the well for any sort of life. You need that water.
Yeah.
And being in the middle of the desert, it's not easy to get water.
No. No, not easy at all. It took a lot of work for that to happen.
So, verse 32, after the treaty had been made at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his forces, returned to the land of the Philistines. So they made the treaty and left.
Yep. Left the place. Not going to inhabit it and keep that well like they originally had done.
Verse 33,
All right.
Abraham
I got to move up there.
Abraham planted a tamarisk tree
Mm-hmm.
in Beersheba, And there he called on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time.
All right. So a memento, if you will, a monument of this treaty that happened is why he plants this tree um, to show that something important has happened here.
That is an interesting thing to do, to plant a tree.
Yeah.
Some good happened, here's a tree.
Right? Here's a tree. And it's a tree that could survive in this area
Yeah.
because of being so dry. Um, it's kind of notable that it's got these really deep roots that can reach down into the water. Where the reason why they had to dig that well because of the lack of water, and but yeah, just something to memorialize what happened, and we see that not maybe so much with planting of trees, um, but these places that are significant. And I guess in our world, we would say, when we're giving somebody directions, we talk about locations like, you're going to turn left at the McDonald's kind of idea,
Yeah.
But we saw Hagar with Ishmael. They were hiding by this tree, waiting for Ishmael to die. And so you have these natural things, I'll put it that way, as broad as can be, that are important because of where these locations are. When Joshua crosses over the Jordan River into Jericho, before they cross the river, they build a monument of stones just to signify something important happened here, as something to remind yourself if you're passing through that way again. 100 years from now, you've told your grandchildren this event that happened, and they walk by and they see that monument of these stones that are built there. Oh, hey, you remember this story that Grandpa told us about the Israelites crossing the Jordan River before they took over the land of Jericho? And so those things were just important reminders.
All right, I think that's a good place to stop and move on to Nehemiah.
Okay.
So Nehemiah did a thing.
Nehemiah did a thing. He built the wall.
Yep. He built the wall around the city. There's some gates there too.
And that is the short of it, right?
Yes.
You can't get much more brief than that. And to the significance of that is all the years before. We studied through this. We did the Kings, right?
Yes.
We had the United Kingdom, Saul, David, Solomon, and then with Jeroboam and Rehoboam became the split of the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, usually referred to Israel and Judah. And we go through all those kings, right?
Yes.
Israel goes away early on. Judah lasts just a little bit longer, and they go by the wayside to captivity from Babylon. And all the people, inhabitants of Jerusalem, are taken away. And Jerusalem becomes, really for 70 years, a deserted area, almost like a ghost town. Hardly anybody ever living there, nothing going on. It's not a significant place at all. And so all that time goes on. We have Daniel, right? At that time when he's prophesying, he's in Babylon. At the time of the captivity, you have Nebuchadnezzar. All that happens. And then we have the Medo-Persian Empire that comes in, takes out Babylon, takes away the ruling of Nebuchadnezzar, and Cyrus, right? Darius and Cyrus, two of these
Yeah.
Persian kings, they start allowing, I guess I'll put it that way, allowing the people who had built homes in captivity in Babylon to go back to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And there was only a small amount. There was about, uh, it's something like 1 or 2% of the people that were taken into captivity came back. Because it was something like 2 million Jews that were taken from Jerusalem away into Babylon to captivity, and something like 50,000 actually came back when they were allowed to return back in. And this is kind of around the same time in the scriptures we read about the book of Ezra, as the people are leaving captivity and coming back to Jerusalem. And the book of Nehemiah really kind of picks up. It's something like 15 years after the completion of the book of Ezra. And Ezra, they had come back and they start talking about building up Jerusalem. And 15 years later, the book of Nehemiah, throughout it, he comes in. He's like, "Hey, why haven't we done this? Why haven't the walls been built?"
Yeah.
And because they're still 100 years after they've come back home, the walls still aren't built. And
They don't need them.
yeah, things, priorities, right?
Yep.
It's just not. People are building their homes. People are worried about farming and doing all the things for themselves, and are not worried about building these walls, and not really worried about building up Jerusalem all that much. And so, anyhow, Nehemiah, he's important Jew who is part of the king's. It's King Artaxerxes, which is the Persian king who is ruling at this time of these lands, and Nehemiah is an important person within that. We kind of call it like a cabinet today when we talk about like the president and his advisors kind of thing, and so within the king's realm, you have Nehemiah, and he's an important figure as a Jew in the Persian kingdom. And so his kind of story is, I'm going back home. I'm going to
Yep.
go back to Jerusalem, and we're going to rebuild these walls. There's some naysayers that,
People wanted to kill him
yeah, yes,
very much.
Sanballat and Tobiah, um, they mock him at first, and then they try to plot. I love, I don't know, the area that they try to bring Nehemiah into is called the land of Oh No. And they wanted to bring Nehemiah to Oh No so they could kill him. But
Yep.
then the plan fizzles, it comes to nothing. And really because of God's protection of Nehemiah. And the wall is finally built that they should have completed years and years and years ago, but they finally get it done with Nehemiah's persistence, I
Yeah, that's
suppose.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, um,
So that's Nehemiah.
yeah. And some of the other things that are in the book is there's lists of who's doing this, what groups of people are building the walls, what groups of people are building the gates.
Yeah.
Um, some of those things. There's a big celebration that happens when they finally get the walls built. And then there's a reminder of the Mosaic covenant, needing to follow that, and duties given to the priests that they need to be doing within the temple, and certain rules. Nehemiah says, hey, look, we shouldn't have the Ammonites and the Moabites, who are our enemies, who aren't worshiping God, to come into the temple, and there's bartering going on in the temple and some things that are just, they shouldn't be happening. And so Nehemiah tries to straighten them out and asks God his blessing upon the people to forgive them and to help build them back up.
All right. Well, it was for the podcast. It's a little bit shorter of a stream, but that's okay. Sometimes they are. We're going to do the Q&A right after this. So I first want to say thank you for everyone being here. Thank you for the podcasters who listen to this and take their 30 to 45 minutes out of the day to listen to us. Hopefully they learned something. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, always a pleasure. I'm glad we were able to connect together today. Last couple weeks have been crazy again.
Yeah. And thank you to the YouTube people that listen to us, and thank you to the Twitch people that listen to us. And we're gonna turn off the podcast and shut down the YouTube, and we'll do the Q&A with Twitch. So if you're on YouTube or Podbean and you want to do the Q&A, please come over to twitch.tv/FuzzySpartan and you can participate in it. So until then, God bless, and I'll see you.
All right. Take care, guys.